This episode is called Why Marketing. You know, when something appears in your world and you don't even have to think before you buy it. That was me recently. First, an R&B night with Shola Amma, live orchestra, VIP tickets right at the front, the exact soundtrack of basically my best going out partying days. The nostalgia got me before I even finished reading the event description, really. I looked at the date, I checked the diary, got a WhatsApp group together, put all my friends in it and said, "Hey, who's up for this?" And off we went to the R&B night. It was absolutely fantastic. We all danced the night away. And essentially, even before I experienced the event, the transformation was just pre-sold. A night to revisit my younger self, surrounded by pals, feeling fabulous and singing my heart out. Then the Whitney Houston tribute, another full orchestra night, another night of goosebumps. Now, why did I go? Because it's Whitney, of course. Because the moment I pictured that first chord of "I have nothing" or "I will always love you," I knew exactly how I'd feel. Lifted, emotional. And it's like, again, nostalgia, it's joy. So it's not really the ticket I'm buying. It was the change of state, I guess, the moments, the memories, the emotion. So, what's that got to do with marketing? Everything. Because when you buy anything, a concert ticket, a coaching program, a training course, a SaaS tool, a workshop, the question that makes or breaks the decision is always the same. Why should I? And if that question isn't answered, we simply don't buy. Inside our heads, that why just sits there and waits for an answer. Why am I taking that action? Why book that ticket? Why trust this solution? Why now? And in business, the companies who win are the ones that don't leave that question to chance. They deliberately, clearly, confidently show people, here's why this matters to you. Here's why it's worth your time. Here's why this is a better choice than anything that's out there on the market. Here's why this is going to change something for you in your life or in your business that won't change without us. And for many businesses, that why will be obvious. You may be sat there right now listening to this or watching this and thinking, well, my why is really, really clear. And your customer will already know that they've got a problem and they're probably actively searching for the fix. But for others, and probably quite a high majority, your buyer might not even fully understand what their problem is at the moment, or the impact of that problem, or the transformation that they could actually get if only they went and sought out a possible solution. So sometimes when it comes to our businesses, we have to educate on the why before they even see the how. And that's why so many companies fall down. They basically go and list all the features, they talk tactics, they show the process that they go through, but they never really answer that question: why should my customer take that step forward with me? So that's what I want to talk about with you today. I want to talk about why. And I want you to invite yourself to answer this question honestly. Am I really showcasing the why of my business to the people that actually matter? Why my client should buy? Why I'm the better choice over a competitor? Why my solution is the safest, the clearest, the most effective on the market? Why this matters for them at this stage, now, not later? Why doing nothing ultimately may even cost them more in the long run? Why life, business, health, confidence, or results improve because of what you are providing to them. Think about why your clients might stay, why clients recommend, why we get the results in our business that we actually do, why our method works, perhaps works better than others. Why should they trust us? Why should they take action right now? And if you can't answer those questions, trust me when I say someone else will, and they'll be the ones that get the sale. So have a little think about those whys. And let's have a think about the psychology of why right now, because there are, for me, three bigger psychological drivers behind this why led buying. And the first one is often about identity and the confirmation of identity, because people buy things that reinforce who they are, or even, and quite a lot of the time, who they actually want to become. So think about my story from earlier. Shola Amma made me feel like I was 18 again. And, that matters, having that good time and thinking back to what you've done in your life. And the second thing is, when we think about the psychology of why here, it's about emotion. So people imagine the emotional outcome almost before they even commit to buying anything. So, as I used in my example earlier, a Whitney night for me equals joy. It equals nostalgia. It equals connection. So I'm sold. So we've got to make sure we're getting that into the mix there. And the other thing is, it's all about what we call cognitive ease. So when the why is really obvious, the brain doesn't have to do so much hard work. When we're thinking about that, the decisions just naturally feel safe, they feel clear, and they feel quick because we can naturally see really, really simply what the why is. So when you think about your marketing, perhaps go and have a little look at your website, go and have a look at your emails that you've been sending, go and look at your social media, go and look at all of those key documents, brochures, leaflets, whatever you've got. And just have a little think about whether or not your marketing is hiding the why, because if it is, your buyers are going to feel friction. When your marketing actually is able more to show that why, buyers do feel more certain. And people have to have certainty before they buy. They really do. If they are feeling even a little bit uncertain, they just don't take the action. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my 5 why framework. And there's 5 R's as part of this framework to keep it nice and simple for you to remember. So, the first one is result. Okay. The second is relevance. The third is risk. The fourth is reason. And the fifth is resonance. So, let's walk through that and give you a little bit more detail. So, number one, the result. Why is this worth it? That is the question that we're ultimately answering. So, does your marketing clearly show why the outcomes matter, not just what you do? Because people are not buying the activity, they're buying the reason behind the activity. People are not just buying the ticket, they're buying the reason behind the ticket. People are not buying your product, they're buying the reason behind your product. They buy because, for example, they are thinking about why it improves their life, why it solves a problem. They're thinking about why it moves them closer, what they actually want in their life. So if you only talk about what you do, the customer has to work out the why on their own. And guess what? They won't, because it's too much like hard work. So bringing the why into it when it comes to, talking about the result, i.e., why is it worth it? We need to think about why this transformation is important to them. We need to think about why their current situation is costing them something. And we need to really think about why life is better after they've worked with you. So, to bring an example to you of that, we don't bring the why into something like we build marketing systems. But if we then say, because you deserve predictable, stress free lead flow so you can stop guessing month to month. That is much more in line with a why, isn't it? Because we're really giving them that feel of, yeah, I do need that. That gives me a good reason why. If I do that, it's going to take away the stress, it's going to take away that lack of predictability in my leads. The why makes the result meaningful. So let's have a look at number 2, relevance. So this is answering the question why this is actually for them. Now, again, coming back to some of your marketing efforts, does it show why your solution is specifically designed for their world and not just anyone's? And I think, when you think about this, this really does come down to understanding your customer and thinking about when you're marketing, creating content for specific niches. I'm not suggesting that you kind of niche your business in its entirety, but when you're thinking about campaign planning, it's definitely worth thinking about separating out your marketing for different audiences, because then you really can design your content and your solution around the reason why you fit into that particular world and not just anyone's. Because people only really take action when they feel this is for me, this person understands me, and they can really solve the specific version of this problem that I actually have. So, relevance answers the why behind suitability of your offering to them. So if we're bringing the why into it here on this particular one, we're thinking about why people like them are struggling with this issue in the first place, why your method fits their working style, their industry, their stage of business, their particular, lifestyle requirements. And we're thinking here also about, well, maybe why other options that are out there will fail them, but this one won't. So let's have another example here. If we're thinking about something quite vague, which might be this program is for business owners, well, if we then say this program works for expert led B2B business owners, because your biggest challenge here is not about ideas, it's about consistency, structure, and leads that you can rely on. Now we're bringing why in, we're bringing relevance to them. It's not just business owners, it's B2B expert led business owners. Okay. And then we're explaining why it's for you, what the relevance is there. So think about whether you're actually tackling that in your marketing. Now, number 3 is risk. Why they should feel safe when they're choosing you. That is the question that we're answering here. So again, if we were thinking about auditing your marketing, does your marketing actually explain why your option is actually the lowest risk or perhaps the highest trust choice for them? Now, people don't necessarily fear spending money. And I hear this a lot, this whole thing on the market of the market's just not buying at the moment. The market's doing really poorly. That's not true. The market is buying. They absolutely are. People are spending money. But they're spending money on things that answer the why question, and they're absolutely certain it's for them. So people are not fearing spending money, they fear making the wrong decision. And if you can show them that you're not the wrong decision, and we tackle this thing of why they should feel safe choosing you, you're much more likely to get them to take that decision in favor of your business. So you've got to answer why choosing you is the smartest, the safest move that they could actually make. Bringing why into this is thinking about why your method actually does work, because if they can see that, it de-risks it for them. Why you're credible. So making sure that we're using all of the social proofing that's required to show your credibility. Think about why the approach that we're actually looking at removes any type of uncertainty for them, and why this is easier, why this is faster, why this is better than perhaps what they're actually doing right now. Now, let's have a little look at an example here. So, for example, if we look at a very surface level version of this, it might be work with us. We've helped lots of clients, or lots of clients just like you. But if we then switch that up and we want to think about de-risking and answering the why around risk, we might say something like, clients choose us because our system eliminates random acts of marketing, meaning you get clarity, control from day one. So it's anchoring directly into why the decision is low risk. And this is it. Risk reduction is why they feel comfortable moving forward. Number 4 now, let's look at the 4th R, and that is reason. So why should they act now and not later? That is the question we're answering. Again, think about your marketing. Does your marketing give a clear why behind the immediate action? Because if people don't understand why timing matters, they wait and they wait and they wait and they wait. And waiting is the silent killer of sales. So your job is to show them why now is the best time to act. thinking about that in a little bit more depth, we want to be thinking about answering the questions on why delaying this decision costs them leads, time, money, confidence, whatever it is that your proposition brings them. We want to be thinking about bringing them the why the opportunity is the highest for them at the moment and why they should actually be taking that step forward. We probably need to be thinking about answering why something in the market or their business or at their growth stage makes it urgent. And also, at the end of the day, it's answering the why momentum matters, why you need to get going right now. So there's a few different things that you can think about when you're answering the why when it comes to this question about reason. So again, let's look at an example here. We might say, you should join the program this month. That's pretty vague, right? So we've got to be thinking about opening that up a little bit more and giving them that why. So here we go. Because every month you continue with inconsistent marketing is another month of unpredictable revenue. And you deserve to break that cycle right now. So there's the why. So urgency without why is pressure. Urgency with why gives the clarity, and you don't want to be putting them in that pressurized situation. But if you can show them why with your urgency, that will give them the green light. That opens the door. Okay. So let's look at the fifth one, which is resonance. Now, this is answering the question why this speaks to who they are. They are. And that's a really important distinction to make here. So again, thinking back to your marketing, does your marketing tap into why this matters on a personal, emotional, or identity-based level? And really, when I think about it, this is probably the deepest why of all, because you're tapping into who they are, who they want to become, and why this goal matters beyond logic and beyond the numbers. This is the why that activates desire. So you've got to bring this why into it by things like why this work aligns with their current values or their aspirations in life or in business. We need to be thinking here about why this helps them become the person that they're actually aiming to be, and why perhaps this makes them or will make them feel more confident, more capable, more in control, because, we all want a bit of that, don't we? And also think about why this fulfills something that they've actually been craving, maybe for quite a long time. So again, if we think about an example here, if we say this marketing system helps you generate leads, that sounds really functional and it's just not going to get me to take action. But then if we say something along the lines of this system gives you the confidence of knowing your business is always moving forward, even when you're not actively pushing. See, that's a much more emotional why. So this is all about the why that sits in their heart and not in their brain. So that's a really important distinction to make there. So let's round that up. When you bring why into every area, your marketing stops being just informational. It becomes much more motivational, much more directional, and do you know what? So much more human. And it does what best marketing always does well. As I said earlier, it's about removing that uncertainty, and you'll be doing that when you tackle these why questions. It then creates more desire, and it's giving what you do so much more meaning. It answers ultimately the question your buyer is always asking: why should I? And when your marketing answers that clearly, confidently, consistently, buyers move, they take the action. Welcome now to the marketing karaoke segment. Now, the song I've chosen for you to anchor this episode has to be one of the covers, of course, that Shola Amma sung. And that's going to be You Might Need Somebody. And she sings that line, when somebody reaches for your heart. So that's a really bad line there, wasn't it? But anyway, that's what you've got to do with your marketing. Reach for your ideal customer's heart. Show them why you fit them perfectly. because that makes sure that you're going beyond logic, beyond features, and it taps into what matters to your customer. So, ladies and gents, in summary of today, the Shola Amma tickets sold themselves because the why was built in. Whitney sold itself because the why was emotional, personal, and unmistakable, and taking me back to that 1990s concert that I went to. But for many of our businesses, we need to show that meaning. We need to articulate that transformation. We need to pull the why out of our heads and put it into our marketing. Because if your audience can't answer the why, they won't buy. But when they can answer that why question, that's when everything changes. If you want my marketing guide to why, head over to allstarmarketingclub.com/resources and you can grab that there, because if you can't answer the why in your marketing, remember, people won't buy. I'll see you next time on What's That Got to Do with Marketing?